Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. I'd really like to thank you all for taking the time to join us today for Protection from Downtime. The goal of this session is to give an introduction to LRS network support and to talk about our great partner Axient. Many of you may be already familiar with Axient and its business availability suite, but today we're going to focus on Axient's Business Recovery Cloud and the many ways it can help protect your business from downtime. During the time we'll have together, we're going to explain why business continuity is extremely critical to your organization, and we'll also tell you about a three-part strategy of an effective business continuity plan. We'll also discuss today's top threats to business continuity and share some exciting information about Axient's Business Availability Suite of solutions. Finally, we'll leave some time at the end of the presentation to answer any of your questions. Now, I'll introduce myself. My name is Scott Brown, and I'm a Senior Network Consultant with LRS Network Support, which is a division of Levi Ray and Schaub. Our team includes 6 network consultants working with organizations throughout Central Illinois. For today's webinar, I'll be joined by Tom Watson, who is Vice President of MSP Best Practices for Axient, our partner for business continuity solutions. Tom, feel free to say hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Scott. Looking forward to this. Thanks.
Thank you. Before we get started, we wanted you to know that you were muted upon entry into this webinar to eliminate background noise, and this webinar will be recorded. You'll receive a link in a few days so that you can review this presentation again if you'd like. We plan to save some time at the end of this presentation to answer your questions. You can participate by submitting your questions in the chat box at any time throughout the webinar. You'll be able to access the chat box by hovering your mouse at the top center of your screen, I believe, and selecting the chat icon on the WebEx toolbar. We'll review the questions during the webinar, and we'll answer as many questions as we can as time permits. A little quick overview of LRS Network Support. LRS Network Support is a division of Levi Ray and Schaub, and we're located in Springfield. We provide technical and consulting support for customers throughout Central Illinois. Our group helps provide preventative solutions to ensure computers run at peak performances. We do this by providing regular computer maintenance as well as remote monitoring. We also provide services specializing in network server and workstation installations. In the event of emergencies, we provide support for all areas of disaster recovery, including computer repairs, server crashes, network crashes, and Microsoft Exchange related issues. A little bit about Axient. Axient delivers cloud business continuity, cloud file sync, and cloud-to-cloud backup solutions through its network of partnerships with IT service providers like LRS. Axient enables its partners to protect and empower business productivity for their clients. Axient also empowers cost-effective partner and end-user private clouds, allowing partners to meet the needs of any client regardless of the size or readiness to engage in cloud services. I'd like to turn things over to Tom Watson with Axient, who's going to tell you a little bit about their business availability solutions.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you for the introductions, and thank you to LRS Network Support. They are a valued partner of Axient. Axient is a data protection company. We back up the data, we sit on the back end, and we have a couple of highlights of the business here. We have over 3,000 partners. We've been in business over 10 years. We have over 400,000 endpoints that are backed up. That would be the actual machines down on the ground that sit in people's offices. We have 15 different vertical markets. There's a good chance if you're on this webinar and listening, you fall under one of the vertical markets that our backup systems work with. We also recently had a security scorecard rating of A, which was the very highest in the backup data protection category. And at present, we hold 40 patents on our software. So I'd like to get into a kind of a history of backups here, data protection, where we've been, where we're going, because it kind of paints the picture of why we have to change what we do now and how we have to back up. First of all, way back in the 1950s, we had tape-based storage. And I like mentioning tape first because tape is interesting. Back then, it was kind of the equivalent of a hard drive, and that's what stored the data and pulled it off of. But tape still exists today. There's a lot of offices, and maybe even some people that are listening to this day have some sort of tape drive that is backing up their data. That technology works, however, is problematic now, and you can kind of imagine why. With as fast as technology moves, it goes all the way back to the 50s. Then we have IBM, first commercial hard drive. Look at the size of that thing. It was the height of a human, and I think it weighed 3,000 pounds and backed up 3.5 megabytes of data they could put on it. That's not even a fraction of what your phone can do, or even a thumb drive. Then we fast forward to the 70s, and we've got the compact disc. Now, to me, this is where things start to change, and it's very important because with a compact disc, you now have the ability to take the data off-site or put another one in the computer and make a second copy. So you have the ability to have redundancy and off-site storage. However, of course, we know floppy disks, the way they're made, they damaged easily and were problematic and couldn't store a lot of data. In the 90s, we get the compact discs. And then later on, the recordable DVDs. These held quite a bit of data. And everyone probably still has something out there that has a backup of their old files on one. This was very effective in many ways, provided off-site. It could also be run, and they were pretty quick. But capacity soon started outstripping what we could do. Then we have the internet comes around. This changes things. Because with the internet now, you can be on your computer and that data is stored somewhere else. Services like PayPal, eBay, all of these things where you're interacting with them and the data is actually, and your information is stored in a cloud somewhere. And Scott, I was wondering when I looked at this one and I thought of tape, I was wondering, do you still run across that anymore?
There's still quite a few customers that are still using tape drive. Slowly, I believe more and more of those customers are, slowly transitioning away from tape, but I'm actually surprised how many there are that still utilize tape today.
Yeah, it can be a hard thing to get away from because you got all these tapes. It's a system. It often works. But I don't know about you, Scott, but I remember trying to restore from tape sometimes and actually have tapes that broke or they've been written to so many times that you couldn't even read off of them.
Even though the backup jobs would show that they were working and there was no issues, come to find out when you went to restore from that media, there was actually no data available.
Exactly. Now, as we go to the next slide, I can kind of show you what happens with this. So now we move towards, we have flash storage and portable drives, kind of lump them together. We have the thumb drives, which were kind of cool, a little bit dangerous, easy to get lost and have your data on them. And then you have the external hard drives. I lump those in here with those too. And those became a pretty effective way to back up because you have a number of them and take them off-site and often store everything on your server. But to me, everything changes in 2007 or thereabouts. That's when we start seeing the BDR devices. Many of you out there probably have something like this in your server room. It sits over to the side, and it's making a copy of what's on the active servers. And many of these devices can be used to actually restore a server and virtualize it on-site in place of a server that goes down. And I know we talked before, Scott. This is kind of interesting because when you come into IT, this starts to become a big thing, and you work with a lot of these, right?
Yes, correct. I guess when I first started, probably in 04, 03, tape was such a big player in all of the accounts that I was doing work for that most places were just accustomed to, if we had a server-related crash or issue, that they were okay with being down for a considerable amount of time, knowing, replacement hardware would have to be ordered, data would have to be restored, and there's really nothing that could be done to, eliminate that much downtime. But again, right around, I think 2008 or so is when I first saw the first BDR appliance, and saw that it was able to, take a backup job that was done the night before and run it virtually right off of that appliance to give that location instant uptime was a huge player for a lot of those places, and showing them the benefits of why it's good to switch to a solution such as a BDR appliance compared to tape pretty much sold itself, really.
Yeah, game changer. This is where Axient enters, and what we're going to talk about next is Axient takes a device like this that we have custom made for the customer, and we put it on site with our software on it. And then the next step, which is so important, is it's not just enough to have a device like that at your office that's backing up your data and can virtualize. You got to have a business continuity plan that goes with it. You have to have a disaster recovery plan. And what that means and what that requires is that a device like that, a BDR device, it then takes that data, it's backed up, and then it puts it somewhere else on the cloud in a secure location. So not only can you restore to the device there, you can also restore in the cloud, and that brings us to business availability, kind of a newer concept. And business availability is beyond business continuity, beyond BDR. What it means is you need to have a system in place where you can recover quickly, almost instantaneously in some cases, or you can get data back almost instantly, and you can keep your business up and operational and doing business and competitive. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit. We're going to focus mainly on the Axient Business Recovery Cloud, but Axient does offer other products. We are a full business availability suite, and what that means is we have a file sync and share utility. We have regular file backup, traditional backup. We back up Office 365. Microsoft doesn't back it up, we do. And we have the Axient Cloud. The Axient Cloud is a secure private cloud where customers' data is stored in our private cloud and made accessible only to them. And then we have full business continuity, allowing your business to stay up and running when disaster does strike. The Axient Business Availability Suite is the proven business continuity and cloud migration solution for IT service providers. The Axient Business Availability Suite includes Replibit, BRC, Cloud Finder, Anchor, Fusion, and the Axient Cloud. Service providers and their clients depend on us to protect their data and ensure business continuity in the event of security breaches, human error, and natural disasters. Our focus on partner experience has resulted in more than 3,000 IT service provider customers throughout the world. Now, business continuity, it's likely that your clients out there, Scott, don't have business continuity plan in place, or you've told them they need to, and the fact is the U.S. National Archives and Records Administration reports that 58% of small and medium-sized businesses aren't prepared for data loss. Well, actually, to say your clients do, but anyone who's on this, who's coming in to learn about business continuity and business availability, probably needs to consider having one of these plans. Scott, what's your kind of feeling about how business continuity has come about and how it's changed?
Quite honestly, back, I don't know, years ago, when you talked about business continuity, you discussed like having, maybe a customer would purchase separate hardware, have it already kind of sitting on the shelf to be used in the event that there was some sort of disaster so that they could recover, quick, a little bit faster, I guess, than what a traditional, like, hey, we just lost everything, our server just died, now we have to go out and order something. And then taking it to the next level of like a disaster recovery where, some businesses, had separate separate buildings or separate locations that they would use in the event that, hey, if we ever have a disaster at this location, we will all move over to this location. So they would purchase, separate servers, separate workstations, separate internet services, separate firewalls, pay a rent for the building, just to be available that they may never use. So, and knowing that Axient is providing a solution that could provide, an instant failover in the event that something happens locally, and also an instant failover in the event that, if you lose the building, you don't have to, dump money into, supporting a separate location, knowing that it's all available via the cloud, really help change things.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, business continuity is more than disaster recovery. It's three things. One is resilience. And that's like having redundant, like extra hard drive, spare capacity, failover servers to take that load when there's a problem. And then it's recovery. Recovery time objective, RTO. how fast can you get that data back up and running and accessible, keep your business operational? And it's contingency. This is the last resort response if everything else fails. You have a total office go down or a fire, something like that. How are you going to get that data back up and running in a server environment and make it accessible for your business? So I'd like to talk real quick about top 10 threats to business continuity. The U.S. Bureau of Labor says 93% of the companies that experience a significant data loss are out of business within 5 years, and 80% fail within a year. Now, Scott, you look at this list. Are there a couple of these that you've come across or that you're really concerned with when it comes to running the networks you work on?
Well, personally, more and more places are always, I feel like they are always getting hit with some sort of crypto-related type of attack. So I want to say it's a cyber attack, meaning that somebody opens up a file, they don't, it looks like it's coming from a trusted source. They open it, and then they come to find out that it starts encrypting all of the files on their machine or on the server. And then from there, they're pretty much stuck because now a message comes up asking for money in order to get that data back. So having a solution such as Axiom, where it's, taking snapshots of that server and it's completely separate, piece of equipment that's in the network so that it won't be affected by something like that, has really helped restore files in the event that those types of issues have happened. And it seems like the more and more people or more and more places that actually pay those ransoms to get that data back is, encouraging those people to keep sending those types of attacks out to other people.
Yeah, they're successful, and that's why they keep doing it. I think that's a really good point, and that's one of the main things that the Axiom Business Recovery Cloud is built on top of, the premise that we back up that data, and you get a crypto locker attack or something like that, it locks down the client's data. As you know, you can sit there and you can just go back in time, and you can restore that entire server from before that attack occurred, and then make sure, and then you can close whatever holes that came through, and you can start back over and often not lose any data, or only have to go back a short period of time, but you can completely circumvent that cyber attack if needed. Next. So let's talk some more about the Axiom Business Recovery Cloud. This is designed to be the world's first business recovery cloud. We only back up business servers through our partners, like LRS. It's backed up to our private cloud, and it is completely secure and built for this purpose only. Creative technology allows companies to replace the traditional snapshotting, traditional backup software, tape software, external drives, traditional archiving, and with an entirely integrated, built-for-purpose solution, even with a test development area, so that partners like LRS can go onto our system and they can test spin up a server, a client server, and make sure they can get that data back in the event there was a disaster. Used to be that businesses, you go in, and I'm sure, Scott, you remember this, you go in and they have a mixture of stuff. You have a thumb drive plugged into the server, you see external drives, you see a tape drive sitting over here. You had to manage all these systems, and these systems take time, and then it's hard to make 3 systems all work perfectly. The Business Recovery Cloud is built on the idea of a single system that replaces all of those other backup solutions and is fully integrated and cloud as well.
Yes, and I would agree. A lot of places had, separate external hard drives that they would change out, saying, we'll take this data off-site and bring in another one. So they were constantly flip-flopping stuff, and then, different backup jobs were running, against different external hard drives. So, yeah, it was really making things a lot difficult to try to manage all that.
Absolutely. And, sometimes people hear this, it sounds like full server backup, and it is. But at the same time, with the Business Recovery Cloud, we can actually do individual file recoveries. We can restore data back from the cloud back to the client location, failover servers. But the real benefit of this is that if everything goes down, or there's no power or something like that, we can spin up that entire server, that network, the entire IT environment in the Axient cloud and make it accessible. So I've got a slide here, and this just kind of shows some of the aspects of it. So you can see all the things. It's backing up the entire IT infrastructure in full office. You get the ability to fail over to a physical server on site. You get the virtual failover in the cloud over on the right. You could do granular application recovery, file recoveries, database recoveries. So your mail, SQL databases, whatever it is. It's very granular in terms of how far down we can go. We can restore at the smallest level all the way up to the entire IT infrastructure of the office. So a couple key points about this system. First, it does file recovery. Second is it does have an on-site appliance at the client location to perform this function of backing up the whole of the local network environment. Through the Axient cloud, it has off-site cloud virtualization where those servers and other machines can be virtualized in our cloud. And then all of this provides true business continuity and true business availability. Companies using Axient experience a 60% reduction in overall costs related to data production while improving their RTO to just minutes. And once again, RTO, recovery time objective. So I've got an interesting case study here I'd like to talk about. And anyone can talk about their product's potential ROI, but here's a great example of what we mean when we say protection from downtime. So through an Axient partner, a Miami-based law firm using the Axient BRC solution for several years. They were all set. They had their entire environment backed up to the Axient Business Recovery Cloud. But then on the morning of September 10th, 2017, Hurricane Irma made landfall. The result of this was the office building they were in was closed. No one was allowed to go in, and it had no power. However, because the entire environment was backed up to the Axient Business Recovery Cloud, it was activated, those servers were spun up in the cloud, people were able to go to other locations or work from home and log into the network and work securely and virtually and get their work done, meet deadlines, and continue with business as usual. I've got a couple quotes from the firm here I think are important. And the one that's so important here is that once the power was restored a week later, Axient and the partner were able to push down the changes that had occurred in that week that were on the virtual servers in the cloud and quickly push them down to the local servers, which were now up and running, and resume business like it had never been interrupted. I think that's an important thing. Scott, I'm sure you've run across disasters here and there. I know this one's on the extreme end, but these things happen. I mean, just even a power outage can be enough to just take down a business.
Yes, agreed. Especially like if you're saying, hey, the entire office is actually working, or the area where this particular customer was in is actually fine, but all of their hardware isn't in an area where you can't physically get to, or they've lost power to that particular part of the building. Knowing that that there is options available to get everything up and going, it's really great.
Yeah. Well, as your business data becomes more critical and it moves to the cloud, you need something to meet the data availability demands. If you're only backing up your data, you may be missing out. Axient's mission, with the assistance of LRS network support, is to ensure that your organization's applications and data are always protected, always secured, and always recoverable. So that's it for me for now, but I'm going to pass it on to Scott, and I think he has some more information for you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tom. part of LRS network support, we usually, with all of our customers, like to provide a business continuity evaluation, basically to check to see how backups in an environment are currently working, and to make sure that the customer is aware of potential issues that may be going on with it. For one, we check all of the backup logs with any solution that you're currently using to see if the backups are actually running regularly, and is the customer or who point of contact at that location being notified when the backup jobs fail. We also review all backup media. Is the location still using tape backup media? And we like to also bring up the problems with tape backup, as you mentioned earlier, Tom, that is the location aware that tapes can degrade over time, that they can actually disintegrate, or they can store corrupted data and not provide any notification that that tape has any issues. With that, just a small amount of heat, humidity, dust can easily destroy any of that type of media. So we like to express how important it is about issues with media and ways to circumvent that, such as a Axiom backup, appliance solution. If the site is using backup media, we want to check to see if that media is actually encrypted to protect it in case the media is lost or stolen. And I've had this happen a few times. Couple places actually, and one after it happened they quickly moved over to the solution, but the tape that a lady used to put in her purse and take home with her because that was their quote-unquote off-site backup, that tape was stolen out of her purse, and we had to kind of start going through a process of alerting a lot of different customers and places that location did business with that, hey, we had a breach with data, and we have to alert you that there of some issues that we might have if that tape is restored, because all it takes is somebody to have some sort of backup software, tape drive, or another computer, and they could easily start restoring that data. So if you think about places that have QuickBooks, they're doing a backup to QuickBooks onto a little thumb drive or to an external hard drive. They take that drive home. That drive is stolen. All somebody needs is a copy of QuickBooks, and boom, they've got all of your data. So we like to review that process to make sure that if they are truly using some sort of backup media, that it is encrypted. We also look at offsite backup procedures. If that user is taking something offsite, is that media protected with encryption in case it's lost or stolen? So, we find that that's very important to discuss. And then we also, to finalize, go over any contingency plans, meaning in the event of a disaster, either on-site or off-site, is the customer okay with the company being down for a very long period of time while new hardware is purchased and data is reloaded, especially if they're utilizing, an external, hard drive type solution. Then we basically say that, if you're not happy with with that type of a situation, then we need to address backup and see what we can do to eliminate that from being an issue. I know Tom talked a little bit about a situation with a Miami company, but we had one here in Springfield. It was a construction company. They have been with Axient, I think, since 2014. They had a server issue where it's called a hard drive puncture, and it's basically one of the hard drives in the server was starting to fail. It wasn't quite completely failed, but it was starting to fail. And the information that was on that hard drive was being written to the other drives, and long story short, it basically got to a point where that server couldn't start up anymore. And so we had a huge situation where, place was completely down and we couldn't get the server started anymore. So we were able to take the backup that had run successfully from the night before and run it in failover mode from that Axient appliance. So it allowed the users to continue working and allowed email to flow, because the server was also their email server. So we got them up and going immediately, which is great. We took the old server, out of the customer's location, and we repaired it at our office, and then we brought it back and moved the backup image that had been running off of that Axion appliance for, I think, a couple of days. We were able to move that back over to their new repurposed server, and we're able to keep working. Which was great because, like I said, back in, 2008, 2009, or even before then, if a place just had tape, that type of technology just wasn't available, and you were just expected to be down for a considerable amount of time while that hardware was being replaced and reloaded. So. But before we do any questions, we do have a special offer. We would like to offer a free business continuity evaluation for anybody that has, participated in this webinar. We would like to come in and take a look at your backup situation and your backup environment to see if we can be of any assistance in that area. There's probably a lot of people that are, joining us that have no idea how their backups are, being performed, or if they could be doing it better. So my email is scott.brown@lrs.com, and I'll have another slide here later that's going to have a little bit more information about me and the best way to get a hold of me. So that wraps up our webinar, but now we'll kind of go over any questions that we have. One question we had, Tom, is like, if our backups are already working, why should we change to this instead? I think that's kind of a question you can look at from, I guess it's like, well, you can have backups that are working maybe on an external hard drive, but I think it's just a level of continuity that, are you okay with a solution that, if you're just doing a backup to some external hard drives and that server goes down, as a business owner, are you okay with being down for a period of time while hardware is installed and data is reloaded, and knowing that, I guess that's how I would take it. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think I look at these things and I evaluate them based on, one, is there a level of automation to the backup where it runs and does its thing with very little human intervention? If you have to pull tapes or you have to swap out drives, that's extra work that sometimes doesn't get done. Someone's not there, forgets. And also, do you have the ability to back up locally, restore locally, and automatically back up to a secure cloud where you can also restore? If it doesn't meet all of those things, you probably need to evaluate your backup solution because it's not providing business availability.
Right. Yes, I would totally agree. Another question was, do you need to install anything on our computers for this to work? The Axient appliance solution is actually clientless, so there's a connection that is done from the Axient appliance over to the servers and workstations. You could back those up as well. So there's no direct software that is installed on them. Now, Axient does offer Anchor, which is a file and folder type backup solution, which does have a client that would be installed on a laptop or workstation or what have you, and from that program you would be able to pick and choose what you want to be backed up to the Axient cloud. Tom, did you have anything on that question?
No, I think you hit that pretty well. Absolutely, there are other solutions, but yes, the key thing is the Axient cloud, the off-site location of the data, and ability to restore from anywhere. Right.
Another question was, would we need to buy a new server for this? The answer is no. The solution that LRS Network Support would provide, it's basically how we provide it is that we install it into your network. You pay a monthly service fee for it, and then we take care of all maintenance and that type of stuff for it. So like I said, it's like a subscription type service. You pay a small monthly fee for it. We keep it in the environment, and we monitor and manage it for you. So if there's ever any issues with it, there's no cost that has to be pushed to the customer. We take care of that. Another question was, you said our data would be stored in the cloud. Where exactly will that be? Well, I guess it was important that Tom brought up that the Axient cloud is actually a private cloud. So it is not similar to what you would see like with a Dropbox or an Amazon AWS type service. It is completely owned and managed by Axient. Tom, you could probably elaborate a little bit more on Axient's private cloud a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. And this private cloud was built for this exact purpose of backing up the Axient BRC solution. And additionally, our private cloud is in a minimum of 2 North American data centers at all times. So the data is not only backed up to the cloud, it's been replicated to at least one secondary location, giving us another level of failover and redundancy.
Yeah, that's great, and it's also important that you brought up that the A rating that Axient has with regards to security. So it should give users, some sort of warm feeling to know that the information that is in those data centers is extremely secure. Because if not, Axient would not have had that A rating for security.
Absolutely, yeah. We just recently got that in January, and it's a pretty big deal because we were put up against, I don't even know, I think it lists the next 8 data protection companies, and we come out number 1 by far. I mean, we are securing the data, handling the data better than anyone else. We have the least number of problems with it. No major incidents ever in terms of data breaches. So the data backed up to the Axient Business Recovery Cloud, it's secure and safe and accessible.
That's great. Another question is, what would happen to our existing backup solution if we move to this? Well, quite honestly, how I treat it is we make sure that your existing solution, that there are some good known working backups on it. Once we implement this solution, I basically kind of disable the old backup jobs from running until the new backup new backup system can get caught up or get some good backup data. After we have a few days, maybe a week or 2 worth of good working backups on that new Axient solution, then at that point is when we start going through like a decommission process, removing any old backup software. And then if you have media that was used for backing up, then we go through a process with you to, what's the best way to get rid of the data that's on there, securely. We could either destroy it for you or work with you to make sure that the information that is on there is destroyed and not recoverable in case you want to reuse that for something else. Tom, did you have anything on that?
No, I mean, the way I look at it is there's a lot of backup systems out there and a lot of legacy ones, and your time is often best spent, as you know, Scott, on the ground, working with a modern, up-to-date system that meets all those requirements. Does it have the ability to back up on-site? Does it have the ability to restore on-site? Does it have the ability to restore virtual servers? And does it have a cloud component where those servers can be restored? And there's some management of that kind of thing to make sure it's working. Time spent maintaining older legacy systems can take away from that. And also the thing is, too, is that when you're running backups, you often don't want multiple backups running on top of each other. And so this just works out better. A move to the Business Recovery Cloud is going to secure your business and give you the peace of mind to know your data is backed up locally, remotely, and secure.
Yeah, that's great. That's a very good point. Well, that was all we had with regards to questions. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. I put up a slide that has my contact information. So if you'd like to learn more about our services, or if you want to talk more about our backup solutions in general, feel free to reach out to me, and I can certainly help answer any of those types of questions. Tom, I do appreciate and thank you for joining this webinar today and providing the information that you did. It was very, very helpful, very knowledgeable, and it's really appreciated.
Yeah, Scott, I really appreciate you guys having us on for this. LRS Network has been a valued partner And we know that you guys do it right. You implement solutions correctly and are experts with the Axient Business Recovery Cloud and devices. And just like to say thank you for everyone for attending.
Great. Thank you, Tom. And thank you all for participating, and thank you for joining.